Chapter 4. First Meeting. Sunday. After a brief phone call with Lucas, Drake met him shortly after in his home. "Did you tell Cyan what happened?" Drake asked him as he sat opposite Lucas on the sofa in the apartment. "Yeah," he grumbled. "I told her I can't see her today because of it. I told her that I can't leave Reuben on his own." "Really?" Drake replied. "You're not going?" "No." Drake looked away. "And she was okay with that?" "Yes." "It'd be nice to have some company on the train," Drake lamented. "Sorry," Lucas mumbled, but he turned away. "I know," Drake nodded. "He's your brother, I understand." "So when are you leaving?" "Later today," Drake replied. "I want to see Reuben before I go." Lucas smiled. Lucas smiled at that. "Visiting hours are at 2:00. "That's great!" Drake beamed happily. "We could go together." "Sure." Lucas nodded. "But before we go, could you help me with something?" "What is it?" "I need to get rid of the TV," Lucas said, looking over at it. "Get rid of it?" Drake hesitated, but he did not press. "Sure," he finished. "Let's do it now." They lifted the TV from its place. Lucas grimaced as they did so, gritting his teeth. "Are you all right?" Drake asked with concern. "What's happened?" Lucas paused, still holding one end of the TV. "I was," he began. He sighed, smiling at Drake weakly. "I was attacked by an aberrant," he finished. "I was cut deeply, but I managed to survive. I will be fine now." Drake dipped his head. "Let's go," he said. "The sooner we get rid of this." They carried the TV down the stairs, out of the building and through the streets. Lucas tried his best to hide his pain, although the injury still hurt. It felt better than it did the day before. He found himself wondering for a moment if he would ever see the aberrant guardian again. Who was he, and where was he now? Lucas kept his thoughts silent as he walked with Drake, carrying the TV between them. They sold the TV, and Lucas took the money, feeling a little more at ease. "At least we can eat now," Lucas mumbled under his breath, counting the amount before pocketing it. He turned to Drake, then grinning at him. "Come on, let's go see Reuben. It's nearly 2:00. He wouldn't want us to be late." They stopped off on the way to grab a takeaway in the form of a giant pizza. They reached the hospital just in time. 2:00 exactly. Visiting hours had just started, and Reuben was wide awake and eager to see them. There were two creatures on the outskirts of the town at this time, beastly things of the type that no ordinary person has ever seen before. One resembled a dog, though was the size of a giant horse. Its light brown coat was coarse and brush-like, and it bore a tail that arched over its back. Moving very long legs, the creature's fox-like ears were constantly twitching, and it glared around with narrow, pupilless white eyes. It paused, digging in the dirt and sniffing around. It had found something, and began to dig with long, slender fingers on reptilian-like claws. Its companion cackled excitedly, running up beside. The second creature was very different, and much smaller than the first. It walked in a hunched position, its spine always curved. Beside its companion, it sniffed the ground with a button nose, but it was far more cute. Deformed and freakish it looked, with red eyes which were pupilless like its companion. It grinned cruelly, with an unseen mouth that was tucked much further below its round head than any other normal creature. It had massive rabbit-like ears that flopped downwards, brushing the ground when it walked. And its body was jet black, with fur fine and short. Like its companion, it began to dig at the earth with deformed feet. Its fingers were splayed as if they were broken, and twisted at odd angles as it dug. These creatures were called Lee and Krias. Krias crawled forwards across the terrain on his deformed feet, his movements smooth and calculated as he slunk close to the ground, the sun shining off his glossy black coat. Lee followed after him, walking gracefully. Krias stopped suddenly, sniffing the ground vigorously and laughing like a hyena. Krias suddenly became still. He extended a single claw with all the gentleness one would think such a creature would lack. He lifted his hand. Draped over the claw was a single, long, white hair. Lucas and Drake stayed with Reuben for 3 hours, until they were asked to leave at 5. Lucas promising to return at 6:30 later that day. The doctors were apparently still not yet happy about releasing him because the tingling in his fingers had not stopped, and they wanted to keep an eye on him. But tomorrow, Reuben said that he would leave, whether the doctors allowed it or not. Lucas and Drake trailed out of the hospital, the automatic doors closed behind them. As Lucas turned to Drake to speak, "Where are you going now?" "I'm going to meet Lorelei," Drake replied. "I thought you were going to see your girlfriend." "I am," Drake winked, "but I'm going to see Lorelei first. I've got a little surprise for her," he said, nudging Lucas's arm. "Is she going to like this surprise?" Lucas asked dubiously. "She will," Drake replied nonchalantly. "Perhaps not at first." "Right," Lucas mumbled slowly. "Listen, Drake, I'll see you around, okay? I should be going." "I'll see you around," Drake oozed smugly. "See you Monday." "See you tomorrow, and don't do anything stupid." "I won't, and don't worry about Reuben," Drake waved at him. "He'll be fine." Drake clapped his hands suddenly, rubbing them together vigorously and smiling with mischief. "This is going to be fun. I can't wait to see the look on her face." Lucas nodded as Drake strode away. Lucas turned. Heading in the opposite direction, he wandered down the street. There was nothing for him to do, and he felt bored and lost without Reuben by his side. He decided to wander the town, with lack of anything else to do. It was Sunday today, and the streets were mostly quiet. He wandered for many minutes, not wanting to go home. He went where his feet took him, never slowing down. He walked on.